Okay, so that's just a quick video about game controllers and, well, how they evolved over time. So it actually started with, I'm not talking about a joystick, I'm talking about controllers. It started basically with something like this, which the ergonomics of this is pretty poor. Had two fire buttons, and then as you can see, you have a start and select button and just an ordinary D-pad, right? So that was used around the area where we had the Nintendo Entertainment System. Then for the SNES or Super Nintendo, I guess that was like the beginning where they introduced the shoulder buttons, and then we switched from the 2-button design to like the 4-button design, or as we can see here with the Sega, instead of the shoulder buttons we had a 6-button design. And I'm not into beat 'em up games, but I guess guys who play beat 'em ups, they love the 6-button design, right? And then the next step for me was like the Sony Controller, where you had the 2 shoulder buttons, and then later on you had the 2 analog sticks here, and then this started like the iconic symbols which Sony uses to this very day. And a little bit later, Nintendo came out with this thingy where we had like one of the first analog sticks and also like the rumble pack, although that was introduced to the PlayStation later as well. And as you can see, the shoulder buttons became like pretty much a standard. And then the next step was that big thing here, the Xbox controller. I guess they called it the Duke. Some people had a problem, they had small hands. It's not a big deal for me, I'm 6'5", so my hands should be big enough. And as you can see, the analog buttons became standard. The D-pad was more or less for navigations within menus now. And again, we had the shoulder buttons or triggers, however you want to call them. And then the next step from here was became like more and more wireless, right? And the second shoulder button per side was like becoming a standard. Pretty much it's the same design like we had with the Duke, but just a more ergonomic design, right? And then in between these two consoles we had the Wii, which I do not have, but that's like the motion control. I mean, we all know the Wii controllers. And then something odd, the Wii U, it was never a success, but I would say it was the predecessor for the Switch, which I do not have, but I guess the Wii kind of paved the way for the Switch. It's actually an awesome controller. You see it has shoulder buttons, 2 analog sticks, and that screen in the middle. But yeah, it's actually an awesome machine. And then came the Xbox. Well, in my opinion, it's still the best controller out there. As you see, the 2 shoulder buttons became pretty much a standard, and the rest of the design didn't change. For the Xbox Series X and S, they did not change the design that much. And actually, if you see the Xbox 360, Xbox One, and the Series S, well, there is not much of a design change, right? Actually, there's just one tiny little extra button. And then let's move over to the PlayStation. As I mentioned before, the 2 analog sticks for the PlayStation, the shoulder buttons, and what I maybe should mention that starting from the Xbox and the Nintendo, we had all these rumble packs. And now we can finally come to the PlayStation 5 controller. As I said, Xbox controller, it's still my favorite because for whatever reason I like it more, although this controller has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. So it has that motion sensor, so you could basically play a racing game and move it like this. It has a built-in speaker, which I find pretty annoying, but however, it has a built-in microphone. That's pretty handy if you do not have a headset and you do online gaming. And also, like the PS4, controller, and I never had a PS3, so I'm not sure if the PS3 had that as well, but you have that touchpad here, which I never used to punch in text, but it's pretty neat. So I'd say function-wise, that's most likely the best controller out there, right? I love that controller. I love my PS5, obviously, but to be honest, the Xbox controller, it's still the best controller for me out there, but followed by the PS5 controller. I mean, if you're into motion control and you want to have a built-in speaker and a microphone, that's maybe the best controller. And it looks okay-ish, although I'd say this looks a little bit odd to me, so I prefer the old style, the PS3 and 4 controller more. Thanks for watching.